From BLC Studios in Mankato, Minnesota, this is the Maverick Hockey Live Podcast, presented by Dunkin. With your host, Shane Frederick.
This is the Maverick Hockey Live Podcast, presented by Dunkin. I'm Shane Frederick, I'm the host, and joining me today is Minnesota State sophomore forward Zach Krajnik. Hi, Zach. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Mr. Krajnik here is a sophomore playing his second year with the Mavericks. This season, he's got 8 points, equaling his total from his first year with the Mavericks. 2 goals, 6 assists. I think it's exactly the same for both seasons so far. So now you got some time to build that up.
Yeah, that's a point at least.
The Mavericks are coming off an idle weekend following a split against St. Thomas, going into a big stretch of games starting this weekend at Bemidji State, and then finishing up the regular season at home a week later against Michigan Tech. With a lot on the line after your idle weekend, you guys are a couple points back of first place in the conference. Sitting 13th in the pairwise, so I would guess that the next 2 weeks are looking pretty big for everything that you guys want to accomplish going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now, though, our focus is just Friday's game. I think this next weekend is the most important games for us, and coach has been stressing it like we control our destiny. So, we take it one day at a time. Like practice, I think we've had a pretty good week of practice. It's pretty intense. Like guys know what's on the line. And coming out of these last 2 weekends, I think, this is probably going to be some of the best hockey that we're going to face. And so we have to live up to it.
Obviously, Bemidji came here and beat you guys twice. You guys end up with 1 point that weekend. I'm sure that weighs on your guys' mind as well. But, really since then, you're 9-1. Looking forward, what do you think's kind of changed from that point, right before the holidays where you dropped those games to going on the run that you guys have gone on in January and early February?
Yeah, I just think I think the team's come together a lot. It was tough being on a cold spell like that, losing those games at home. Like we never want to see that happen, but I think it was a big character building moment for us. I think guys started to realize we needed to buy in as a team, and that's what we've been doing lately. So, there's still plenty of work to be done. Like losing that one to St. Thomas, that was right. Tough. Like one of the things we're stressing is that first 5 minutes of the game, we have to get better at that. And for us to make a deep run, we're going to have to. So, I think it was just like a leadership group has been phenomenal this second half. Like they pulled us in before, and they're like, let's just wash whatever happened in the first half. And let's just, we're a new team. And that's been our mentality this whole time is let's not look at the past. Yeah, we'll learn from it, but let's focus on being the best that we can be in the second half.
What was the off week like for you, or how much? I don't know how much of it really was an off week. There are scheduled practices. There are captain's practices. There are, I'm sure, workouts, other things that you're supposed to be doing, but also at the same time, trying to heal a bit and make sure your body's kind of ready for the stretch run, which can run from anywhere from, 3 weeks to, a month and a half if you, really go on a big run in the playoffs. What did you guys do? What did you do personally to kind of get yourself ready for this?
It's tough because you have to find a balance between healing and not losing where we're at.
Right.
So, we did have scheduled workouts, practices, and it was just like if guys were banged up, like let them heal a little bit. And if not, like we're still going. Like the intensity needs to be there, even though it is an off week, like teams are still playing and we can't lose a step on them. So I think it was a healthy combination of getting in there and working and then realizing that, we need to get healthy if we are going to go on this deep run in the playoffs.
Did you pay attention to what was happening in the conference around you last weekend when you guys were off and there are other games being played and Michigan Tech split, I believe Bemidji split. You saw a lot of things kind of fall fairly well for you guys, or as well as probably could be expected. You don't see a lot of teams getting swept at home. That would have been a lot to ask for, but you probably got a little bit of good fortune in some of those matches.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said though, like we control our own destiny. So it is nice to see some things happen like that. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to us going to Bemidji and getting those 2 games and coming back here and beating Michigan Tech at home, which, being at home, we've struggled with that a little bit. And no better way to finish out the regular season than get two big games at home.
How's the season gone for you, would you say? I mean, your role's probably grown compared to last year, and I know post game after one of the Lake Superior State games, Coach Hastings had some nice things to say about the work that you've done to kind of find a way into the lineup. I think he said to kind of climb and claw your way into the lineup, and the work that you've needed to do to stay in the lineup. How has that changed from last year? Or how has your approach built so that you can kind of get those opportunities?
Yeah, I think last year, especially for me, because I took a year off when I had to come here from UAA. So it was just finding that confidence. And last year I could tell like I never really had that level of confidence that I'm playing with right now. And it's crazy to me what can happen. Like when you see guys around you and your coach says stuff like that, like your confidence just goes up so high. And, it's like I've said before, though, it's like confidence is weird because when you have it, it's good. It's really good. But you can't forget, and Coach Hastings has like drilled this into me, you can't forget what you did to get to this point. So I think just it's a combination of having guys around me that are lifting me up every day and who want the best for me. And then I think I've became closer with the coaches in a sense that I'm more willing to reach out to them and figure out what I need to do it. Like last year, yeah, I had a few games here and there. Like you said, like 8 points. It's nothing fantastic. Some of them were lucky, some of them weren't. But I think it's just like the consistency is starting to get there, and just being around, especially the line mates that you're playing with. Like last weekend I was with, or 2 weekends ago, I was with Tassie and Isley. Mm-hmm. And like when you're playing with guys like that, it's easy to play. like Tassie's he's gonna be a force. So it's finding your role. And I think coming from junior hockey too, sure, it's definitely changed my role, but I'm learning how to play that way. And like just having the fantastic coaching staff that we have, it allows me to see what I need to do to get to the next level.
It's interesting how this coaching staff works, how Coach Hastings works, and I think he kind of mentioned or hinted this in that same post-game press conference. And I'll give Kevin Dudley, the Free Press beat writer, who my successor there, who brought your name into the conversation. But Coach also said that as your confidence has grown, those coaches, they figure out, okay, let's, put them into different spots. So he mentioned that you got a little bit of power play time and, probably saw your confidence probably kind of go, down a little bit, but you need that in order to like build it back up. And, if you only put players in a position where they're completely comfortable, this is my words, not his, there's not a lot of room for growth. So I'm assuming when you get those opportunities, you got to try to make the most of them and then kind of see how you can build up from there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like if it doesn't go the way I expect it to, you just have to reflect and be like, hey, the coaches believed in you to get you into that position. Like, let's just take a step back and realize like it's not the end of the world if they take it away. But they believe in you and they want you to be able to contribute in that way. And yeah, it's not going that way right now, whatever, but just learn from it and move on.
Sure. Are there players that you look up to or you ask a lot of questions of or that you pay a lot of attention to, older players that maybe your game is similar to or that or spots that that you can kind of gauge the way you play? Yeah,
so I wouldn't say it's like similarities. I'd just say like it's older guys. So yeah. I sit right next to Cade Borchardt in the locker room. Like he's a guy that I feel like I can go to whenever I need something because he has been successful here. Yeah. And like he will continue to be. And then Brendan Furry too. I was on a line with him for a few games and just kind of picking his brain about like plays and like just trying to see like what makes them successful because they're both fantastic hockey players. Like there's no denying that. So it's just like if I want to be at the level that they're on eventually, I need to know what they did to get from where they were to where they are now.
Coach mentioned your skating, and obviously when players can skate, that you can kind of really learn the other things as you go, because a good skater can handle some things out on the ice. But is that something that kind of came naturally to you as a young player, or is that something you've worked on over time?
I feel like it's something I've worked on over time, because growing up I was tiny. I was always super small. So like, what was I, 16, and I was 5'5", maybe, like 110 pounds. So I had to be faster than everybody, or else I was just going to get run off the ice. So it's just, like we had a rink out front in my home in Alaska. So just getting out there and skating. And, I was lucky enough to have some great coaches growing up who were Division I athletes, and, they always would put in the work with me whenever I needed it. Like I said, I just think it was survival of the fittest. Like I needed to be faster than everybody, or else I wasn't going to be able to compete with them. So I think it was just like a combination of that and having the access to ice in Alaska. Like you can go to any pond. Yeah. It's kind of like here, but just getting out there and skating whenever I could, really.
So you mentioned Alaska. You're Eagle River, Alaska native. Your 3 seasons of junior hockey were all in the NA in Alaska for, how do you pronounce that? Is it
Kenai?
Kenai.
Yep.
Kenai River. And then you committed to play at Alaska Anchorage, and you ended up there. But obviously the COVID situation forced them to shut down their season and really put a lot of question about their future was out there. So you end up transferring here, right?
Yep.
So everything else was Alaska prior to this. What did that feel weird when suddenly you were gonna, get out of the state?
Yeah, it was a little weird, but like playing for Kenai, we actually had billets in Minnesota as well.
Okay.
So we would spend half the season up there at our billets, and then we'd fly down here and spend a month at a time with our billets here. So we were actually in Anoka.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so I spent the past 3 winters pretty much living here half the time. So it also, I'd say it also helped having Tanner Edwards here.
Sure.
Another Alaska kid that, I've played against growing up. So it made it feel a little bit more at home. Mm-hmm. And then my parents actually ended up buying a place down here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's nice to be able to, they're only an hour away. It's nice to be able for them to come and watch me. And like if I am feeling homesick, like last year, like being the first time out of the state, you're gonna get homesick. So it's nice having them being able to come down to the games every weekend, every other weekend, and have the availability to go up there as well.
And it's funny because I look back to MSU would go up there, and every once in a while they do a road trip where they'd play both Fairbanks and Anchorage, and spend the week up there. And I would always write stories for the paper about like how big a deal that was and how far it was, and eventually one day it popped into my head. It's like, yeah, I've never really looked at it from the perspective of the players who play for those schools or play for those junior teams up there who have to do all that travel. It's not a 2-week trip. It's like you said, you're down here for a month at a time, or just if you are traveling, it's just a long road trip no matter what. And so whenever those teams have some success, you kind of give them a little bit more praise, because that is a grind to travel, because I know the players here, when they go there once, it's a grind for travel, but those teams are coming here all the time. Yeah,
no, it's actually funny to talk to some of the guys about it, especially the guys who have been on the team when they used to go up to UA.
Yeah.
And they have the reactions that I wouldn't expect. They actually like it. Like a lot of the guys like going up there for a weekend and just seeing it. And I know Notter, the first time I talked to him, that's all he talked about was how much he loved coming up to Anchorage and like this one breakfast place he used to go all the time. And it's just funny because these are places, like he was describing places that I grew up. Like I went to those places all the time.
Sure.
But they find it so much more interesting just because it is so different.
Did you grow up a big fan? Did you go to games? Did you go to Anchorage games? And
yeah. My family actually had season tickets, so we'd every Friday, Saturday night. Like that was the thing to do, even though their fan base wasn't fantastic.
Yeah.
It was though before I started going. Like my parents used to go in the 1990s, early 2000s, and they'd sell out 6,000 people. So I think that just that organization as a whole did a lot for me, and like my love of the game and being able to get me where I'm at today.
So when you committed there, that must have been a big deal for you that you're going to play there. It's kind of your team. And do you think if things, without COVID, things like that, you would have stayed there, or with the conference change and other things that were coming down the pike, do you think that you still would have made a decision to come here or move on somewhere else?
It's hard to picture anything else happening than what did happen. I'm thankful for the time that I did have there, but I'm also super thankful to be where I'm at today.
Sure.
I believe that this was the best option for me, and it's just hard to think about anything else other than what is happening today.
So tell me a little bit about that season when you're up there and there's no season happening and you're skating a little bit with a few players. What was going on that year?
Yeah, so first off, that was my last year junior, so we kind of got cut short end of March right before playoffs. So then it's whatever, a few months off of hockey, we'll get back to it. Meet all the guys at UAA, start working out with them in the summer, start going to practice, and then little rumors started flying around, all the sports, because all the sports are intertwined. Whatever college you're at, all the sports talk to each other a little bit. Word started flying around, and we're like, this isn't going to be good, we don't think. 2 days later, we have a Zoom meeting, and basically season's canceled because of COVID. Had to be not even a couple weeks later, rumors again that UA is going down. They're not going to be a program anymore. Guys started, I wouldn't say just bailing, but they started doing what's best for them.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough. And there was, I think by the end of it, so we're talking after they had already announced that the program's done, December-ish, there's 5 guys on the ice and the coaches. And this is something that I'll forever be grateful for, was the coaches were still willing to get on the ice with us and give us ice time, give us drills, help make us better. And they were actually the ones that were fighting for us the most.
Wow.
Yeah, so Matt Curley, fantastic guy. He was in contact with Coach Hastings a lot. And he was actually, it was funny. I was skating the one day and he comes up to me and he goes, "You're going to get a phone call." I was like, okay. I was like, okay. And he's like, "It's going to be Minnesota State, and whatever they offer you, I want you to take it."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he goes, that's going to be the best thing for you right now. And and then it was funny because all the other coaches started asking me. They're like, "Have you got the call yet?" And I was like, "No." And I was like, "You guys are more worried than I am right now." But yeah, it was just, it's crazy how it all worked out. But like I said, I'm super thankful for them. And they're all the coaches that were there are doing great now. Matt Curley's the head coach at Des Moines.
Yep.
And I wouldn't wish anything else for him. He did everything for me, and he's the main reason where I'm at right now.
No, that's great. What a cool story. So you did get the call then that day.
Oh yeah, got the call that day, and we kept in contact for a little bit, and every day I was on the ice with them, they were asking me.
Yeah.
They're like, "Are you going?" I was like, "Yeah, I want to."
Did you come here? Did you transfer here right away, or did you finish the second semester at Anchorage and then come here?
Yeah, I finished the second semester, and that's what we were talking about, is when I went down and skated with my junior team just to get on the ice.
Sure.
I think because we had 4 guys in December, I think we would have had 2 coming back for the last semester.
Right.
And I mean, it was during COVID, so I had all online classes. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I may as well just go down and skate. So I forget what the exact date that I committed was, but I want to say it was in the spring sometime, early spring. So yeah, I was super excited about it. Talking to Tanner Edwards, Teddy we call him,
right.
And he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna love it here." And then just hearing from the coaches and really building that connection right away, even though it is hard because they haven't seen me play in a year. So just knowing that they have the trust in me to bring me in here, that was huge.
What was your first game, and what was that like here?
It's UMass.
Yeah,
in UMass. That was
first game. So opening night or the
opening night?
You were in the opening lineup. Then.
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah,
the place was packed before warm ups. We get out there and I'll always remember it. It's like a tunnel. It feels like you're in a video game. It's just a tunnel, and then it opens up, and there's 8,000 people. Yeah. And I was like, I haven't played a game in a year. This is about to be insane. I'm going up against first, second round draft picks. I'm like, wow, let's go.
And what a weekend that was, obviously, and then what a year to to be part of all that in your first year.
Yeah, I think that was a big learning experience too. Just being around those guys like Julian Napravnik, Nathan Smith, Trident McKay, all these guys who are going to go on to have fantastic careers. Like just learning from them, even though like you said, like it was kind of up and down in the lineup,
Sure.
in and out. Like just being around those guys and seeing what they did every day. Just it was little things that I could just pick up on, and I knew like coming into this year that I could use those things.
Right. And that was the thing with that. You were joining a team that was a very veteran heavy team. They had some players come back for fifth year COVID year, if you call it whatever you want to call it. So in some ways you kind of have to just like, take advantage of your opportunities, and then also see, knowing what's down the road when there's turnover in the lineup, like, going into this season, that you're going to eventually have your opportunity as long as you took advantage of it during that year.
Yeah, absolutely. Like last year, our team was fantastic last year. And looking when I was in the moment, I was like kind of bummed out that I wasn't playing, but at the same time, like we have a really good team. Like we're going to go far. And we ended up doing so. So it was a combination of just looking at those guys and seeing what they're doing, and then having to play against those guys all the time. Yeah. Like in practice, you're going against Nathan Smith, and he's just making you look silly, and you're like, oh, come on. So in the end, like, it's people say it's just practice, but when you're going against those guys, it's like all of our practices are pretty much games intensity.
Yeah, I hear that all the time from you guys. Just that intensity of practice and how well it prepares you for a weekend. And it's got to be. I mean, you guys all say it, so it's got to be true.
Yeah, it's you think about it, and you're like, like practice is supposed to be easy. And I'm like, no. Not when you come here. It's weird how that works out, though, because when we practice, it's like you won't see many goals scored in like 5-on-5 or anything, because guys are just going at each other. Like, and I think that's something that we carry over well, is just that intensity. So like when we're going against other guys that they're not your buddies, they're not your buddies on the other team. Like you're going at them. Sure. Like it's just a different mentality, but it all starts in practice for us.
You go into just getting back to this year a little bit and what you have coming up. I know you're focused so closely on Bemidji, but what do you feel overall? Whether it's Friday night this week, over the weekend, or just going forward, that you feel this team needs to do to kind of take that next step, or how to build upon what you've done really since the calendar turned to 2023, because I know everybody talks about that St. Thomas game, but still 9-1 is still a pretty good run of 10 games between breaks.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned it, like our starts. We have to start better, and it's something that we've been focusing on a lot lately. It's just our actions have to speak louder now. Like you can talk about it all you want, but especially being at home, like to get our fans engaged right away, even on the road to take their fans out of the game right away. Like we need to get that first one in the first 5-10 minutes, and then just not look back.
That's such an important thing, I think, for both teams, and I've talked about that before with teams coming to Mankato, and if you guys don't have a good start, or the other team has a really good start, and they take that crowd out of the game, I mean, can you feel it that way too? Because you guys talk so much about when you have the crowd on your side down at the Civic Center, and when there's 4,800 people, 5,000 people in there, and it's loud, it's a great atmosphere. But if a team takes them out of it early or keeps things pretty quiet, do you notice that too? Do you feel like you got to try to do something to build that back up?
Yeah, I feel like it's home ice advantage. Yeah. Like it's just simple as that. Like we need to do something, whether it's a hit, whether it's a nice play, maybe it doesn't result in a goal, but just to get the fans on their feet. Right. And you don't really notice it as much in the moment, like during the play. But like one of the things we stress in the locker room in between is like, let's give these fans something to root for. And I think it's more like you can just feel the energy in the building rise when something good happens. Yeah. And like we've been in that position in away games, and it is like, especially on the road, like it can be a little bit deflating. But I've liked how we handle it on the road, though, personally. Like stuff doesn't go our way, like goals in the last 2 minutes of a period. Arizona State, like we come right back out. Furs gets one. Like I think that was a huge moment in our season where we're like, yeah, we're playing a good team. They got the upper hand on us, but we still found a way to fight back. And that's something that we're going to need to do unless we have a good first 5-10 minutes. Like I just think that I think the biggest difference in the first and second half would be the way that we handle adversity.
Sure.
Like it's more of a we thing now in the second half. Like there's no pointing fingers, none of that. It's like guys, it almost comes to a sense where guys are like, yeah, that's my bad. And we're like, no. Like we understand, it's fine. Just let it go. And you can see it. Like we get scored on. Yeah, it's not fun to get scored on, but then we have a line that goes out, does something good, gets momentum back, and then, we just never look back from that point.
Well, I wish you all the best of luck going up to Bemidji to play the Beavers this weekend in what should be a pretty great series. And then looking forward to you guys coming back to town to take on Michigan Tech. That should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it should be exciting.
Thanks for joining me, Zach. And this has been the Maverick Hockey Live podcast presented by Dunkin. That's Zach Krajnik. I'm Shane Frederick, and we'll see you next time.